Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident fanalist, as always, Ryan Schlip. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_data. Well, I think the plan for today is going to be pretty simple. Final thoughts, comments, questions, concerns, not really about the game. Going through the rest of the games, the ones that matter, not every single one of them. And then finishing off the calls, making sure that we are all caught up, at least to the best of our ability. I want to start off with maybe the biggest question when it comes to the Cardinals, the biggest concern, however you want to phrase it, and that is Kyler Murray's ability to take off and run. I saw the former PFF guys talking on 33rd Team. They got a show over there now, but they were talking about this game, and they really emphasized the Cardinals and their use of rushing with Kyler Murray. Again, obviously, that is a concern. He's got like 20-yard carries in almost every single game so far this year. Big, explosive play machine, et cetera, et cetera. They had mentioned that this past game, there was an increase in carries by Kyler Murray, and that maybe that's them kind of leaning into that or whatever. Let's be specific with this. So his carries, and there's two different, there's rushing attempts, like designed rushing attempts, and then there are scrambles. But overall, there's been 5, 5, 5, 1, and 7 as far as attempts. But what those guys noted, I don't know I forget their names and what the name of their show is, but the old PFF guys over on 33rd Team now, is that a lot of them were scrambles in the past. So of the 5, 5, 5 to begin with of those attempts, there were 3, 4, and 2 scrambles. So most of them were scrambles, with the exception of the Detroit game. It was 3-2 or whatever, but it was insignificant. In this game, you have 7 attempts, and you have, where did it go now? 3, I think it was. 3 of those 7 were scrambles, leaving 4 attempts, which is more than, it's really a pretty insignificant number, but it's more than any other by a decent margin, I guess, considering we're talking about really small numbers here. Then they went and talked about, well, should you do that with the risk of injury for Kyler Murray? And they said, oh, yeah, he's really good at avoiding injury. First of all, those are kind of the data points that I'm kind of wanting to dig into and look at or whatever. But first of all, let's be very honest about this injury thing. The fact that he has a great ability of avoiding injury. Do you know how many games he's missed the last 3 years? I added them up, not including postseason. I don't think they've been to the postseason, but let's just assume they haven't. Do you know how many games? 17. Over the last 3 years, cumulatively, he's missed an entire season. That's a lot for a young guy. He's 27 years old. He just turned 27. 27 years old, he's missed an entire season due to injury. So yeah, I'm not so sure that that's a thing. Beyond that, I don't know that they really tapped into something. In other words, I don't know that this was some like big game plan thing. We're going to really run them because, again, it was only 4. It was 1 per quarter. It's not that big of a thing anyways. Did I close that? I'm so stupid about closing my tabs. Like, I don't want that anymore. Okay, cool. I got to go find it again. But what I did is I went over to NFL Pro and I said, it's not that many rushing attempts. Why don't I just go and look at every single rushing attempt done by Kyler Murray, just see if there's anything to glean from it. I just wanted to watch it. I wanted to see what the heck was going on. What's really interesting about it is that I don't want to say it's predictable because it's not predictable, but they really only ever use it in one situation. So let's look at a couple things. Let's look at the down. So in total, there were 23 plays matching my criteria, which would be times that he ran the ball. Now, that includes him like taking a knee or whatever. So there were actually less than that. But I just want to look at the downs. The downs, down and distance, etc. Let's start with second down. Of his carries, again, there's not a massive amount, but of his 23-ish carries, only twice were there second down runs. There was a scramble in the Rams game, and then there was a knee in the 49ers game. That is to say, they have never designed a run on second down. All right, how about third down? We got scramble, 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 scramble. There's a 3rd and 1 that they don't say scramble on, but I'm watching it, and I'm 99% sure that is, unless it is the longest, most delayed running play of all time. That was also a scramble. Then we have a 3rd and 9 from the 3-yard line. So they're on their own 3-yard line. It's 3rd and 9, and they run Kyler. Why the heck would they do that? Because it's basically a draw play. That's what most teams would do in that situation. It's a draw play. We're going to have to punt. We'll take a shot at maybe picking up 9 on a run play, but we're going to hand it off here, try to get a few more yards, etc. That's all that was. Then you got another scramble, and then finally there is a play here on 3rd and 10. Kyler Murray runs for 7 yards. Why would they do that? Why? Because they're in field goal range. They are down by 2 against the 49ers, and they're just trying to pick up a few extra yards. So it's a very unusual situation. On 4th down, they ran it 1 time. It was 4th and 1, got everybody down in the line, faked the handoff. He books it to the sideline. He didn't make it. He didn't make it. All that speed and everything else. You got a corner to the outside. I can't quite read his name. Looks like Davis. Is that a corner? I don't even know. He beat him. They initially said it was a 1st down, and then they overturned it, and the play got reversed. 4th down, turnover. So they tried it 1 time on 4th down. It didn't work. So basically on 2nd, 3rd, and 4th down, they don't do it. The design runs here. Let's look at them. 1st and 10. We got a knee, a scramble. Kyler Murray on 1st and 10. A scramble on 1st and 20. Kyler Murray scramble. Kyler Murray right tackle, 50-yard touchdown. That was on 1st and 10. Kyler Murray scrambles. That's a scramble. Kyler Murray right tackle, 13 yards. That was on 1st and 10. And then Kyler Murray takes a knee. So there's very few actual runs, and almost every single one of them, with the few exceptions, are on 1st and 10. That's it. He runs on 1st and 10 rarely. As far as I'm concerned, there were 2 legitimate runs. There were 2 times that you would look at that and say that was a designed thing. Or what. Same with the Lions game. There were 2. I don't know that there was really more than 2 in any other game. So watch it maybe once or twice on 1st and 10. And then there's a couple other weird situations. If they're winning and the game's about wrapped up and they're just about to kick a field goal, yeah, maybe they'll just have Kyler pick up a couple yards and leave it at that. But again, they very, very, very rarely use him in that capacity, and I think I know why. It's because they're worried about him getting injured. So I think they use it more as a way to keep teams on their toes. If you see teams they want you to be scared of Kyler's rushing ability, and they want you to play as though you're scared of Kyler's rushing ability. You start playing man-to-man, turning your back on him, whatever. They're going to run him to try to get you to, hey, you better watch it. Don't be doing that because you never know. Making sure you respect it, making sure you're scared of it. Other than that, it's not a major part of their game plan. So really, again, although there's 1 per game where he breaks one off, for the most part, it's about containment. It's about, watching out for him. There's a lot of 3rd down runs. Why? Because he scrambles when he's under pressure. 3rd down is a throwing situation. 3rd down is when pressure comes. So that's where there's just a lot of scrambles. But even that, let's look at 3rd down. Granted, it's largely successful. The least amount of yards gained in his scrambling situations is 7 yards. But do you know how many times he's scrambled on 3rd down in 5 games? 5 times. 5 times. So you unleash the horses on 3rd down to go get Kyler, and on average, once per game, he's going to scramble and pick up some yards. So is it possible that he goes full Colin Kaepernick or whatever and runs for 250 yards? Or something? I guess. But this Kyler Murray thing has always been massively overblown. It remains to be massively overblown. It is a small percentage of what they do. Yes, it's a big deal if he cracks off on 1st and 10 a 50-yard touchdown run. Obviously, that's going to impact the game. But we can't focus our entire analysis of this game on something that might happen like 2 or 3 times in a game. I feel like we're missing quite a bit. And to say that the way to beat the Packers is to lean into the run of Kyler Murray, what, you're going to take it from like 3 to 7? Or is he going to have like 15 carries like a real running back? Like, what are we even actually talking about? By the way, let me put this further into context for you real quick. So if you look at EPA per rush, first of all, quarterbacks are always significantly higher than everybody else. And that makes sense because they're not being plowed into something on 2nd and 8 where they gain 2 yards or whatever. Generally, they're going to take off and run in more advantageous situations, especially when they scramble. But do you know who's more dangerous as a runner than Kyler Murray is? Josh Allen. Do you know how much time we'd be talking about Josh Allen and his legs if we were playing the Buffalo Bills? Like, 0. Granted, that's probably just us underestimating Josh Allen and his rushing ability, but it just wouldn't come up. By the way, it's almost identical to what Anthony Richardson's is. We care about that. It's very similar to Geno Smith and Patrick Mahomes as far as how much his total rushing EPA is. Number 1 in the NFL is actually Jaden Daniels, and by a pretty wide margin. So Kyler Murray's EPA rushing is 14.7, Jaden Daniels 23.5. So yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing. And he's good at it, and he's fast, and he's probably going to have a big run or two. But I would love it if we could talk about anything else. It's happened last time we faced Kyler Murray. Everyone just lost it. Like, it's the scariest thing in the history of the world. You don't understand how good he is. It's like, jeez, all right, whatever. On the injury front, obviously there's nothing completely official at this particular point in time. However, there was some good news. The Packers called up a tight end. And that's it. Via Zach Cruz, Packers only elevated tight end Andrew Beck from the practice squad for Sunday, which sure seems like the final sign that Jaire Alexander will play versus the Cardinals. Robert Rochelle had been up, either elevated or signed, each of the last 3 weeks. So, sounds like some good news. It appears as though Jaire will be back this week. We know Romeo will be back this week. Got a decent enough feeling about Christian Watson being back this week. Whether or not he plays, I do not know. I do think it'd be a pretty big advantage. But we've always got Master Bo to handle the speed stuff if it comes to that. On the flip side, the Cardinals did elevate their backup kicker, I guess. Matt Prater presumably will not be playing in this game. That does seem to work in our advantage a little bit. Mr. Ryland, who is the going to be the kicker presumably in this game. He was, by the way, a 4th-round pick last year by New England, interestingly enough. He was so terrible he got let go, and then Arizona picked him up. He's been off to a decent start. He's 1 for 1 on extra points, 3 for 4 on field goals. His one miss came in the 40-yard range. However, Matt Prater has not missed a kick this year. He is 10 for 10 on extra points and 6 for 6 on field goals. So just not having that automatic consistency. On top of that, again, Chad Ryland was a 4th-round pick, didn't make it a year. That's not a great sign when a team can't trust you. He was the kicker for New England last year. He was 24 of 25 on extra points, but just 16 of 25 on field goals. He was 5 of 7 in the 30-yard range, 5 of 10 in the 40-yard range, 2 of 4 from the 50-yard range. That's almost identical to guy that we drafted. I can't remember his name. I've already purged his name from my memory. Aside from making all the field goals, I remember he randomly was 50% from the 40-yard range, which is a big problem. And so this year it looks good, but it's a very small sample size. So hopefully getting the full-time nod here in this game will not go super great, and we can get some things going in our direction from the special teams side of things. That would be super nice if we can get that going in our favor. A lot of the other keys to the game type stuff we've already really talked about. Obviously, the Packers rushing attack against the Cardinals, terrible run defense. Cardinals defense in general is kind of in shambles, so you're hoping for some consistency there from the Packers. NFL Pro does have some insights. It's nothing that we don't super know, but maybe some specifics here. Cardinals defense has generated pressure on 25.3%. That's the second lowest rate in the NFL. I've mentioned already, this is a great opportunity for a comeback game for Jordan Love. He's faced a lot of pressure, really high blitz rates. Even if the Cardinals want to blitz a lot, they don't have the horses to get home. There should be some time in the pocket. The offensive line will have, hopefully, the ability, unless they just shoot themselves in the foot all day, to hold off, give Jordan some time, distribute the ball, et cetera, et cetera. Packers, 5th most rush yards over expected. Jaden Reed's doing well. Marvin Harrison's doing well. Kyler Murray runs a lot. That's about it. The only other one that's kind of interesting that ties into the pass rush one, it says Jordan Love has averaged a league-high 10.2 yards per attempt when facing 4 or fewer rushers this season. Love is the only quarterback to achieve a yard per attempt over 10 in such situations. Despite his league-leading yards per attempt, he has recorded a league-low negative 8.6% completion percentage over expected when not blitzed. So the passes haven't been super great. On top of that, lots of drops. Sometimes it's both, but bottom line is, again, not a lot of guys getting home. Jordan Love, when facing 4 or fewer rushers, which doesn't necessarily have to mean the same thing, but let's just assume that's probably the case. When he's not under pressure, there's some success down the field. I think Matt LaFleur does a great job with that. We got a lot of guys like Jaden Reed that are doing some damage in space. It's a lot of potential. It's all I'm really trying to lean into here. There's so much potential to just do good, Don't make it hard on yourself. Just do what you got to do, man. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. All right, let's take a look at the upcoming games. So we got another early game, which I'm excited about. Get the game, sometimes you get up and you're just waiting. Sorry about the stupid microphone. You're just waiting all day for those games. It's nice to get that early game mixed in, especially when it's a game that matters, like the Chicago Bears. Bears are playing the Jaguars. Of course, Bears fans, man, they're back in it. We lost them for a minute, but man, are they back? Because Caleb looks like him. I don't know if they say him anymore. I think they retired that since the last time it was such an abject failure. Unfortunately, the Chicago Bears are about to embark on number 3 of the 3 worst defenses in football. The Rams and the Panthers are the 2 teams that have made him look competent. As of right now, looking at NFL Pros, matchup comparisons, whatever, the Bears' passing offense ranks 26th because they suck. The Jaguars' defense, however, ranks 32nd. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say anymore, man. This literally has to be the 3 worst pass defenses over 3 weeks. Who are they playing next week? Commanders. Oh, that's going to be such a good game. Oh, I hope they get carved up. You know what sucks, though? I don't know about Commanders' defense. The Bears' defense is probably going to... whatever. Then they face the Cardinals, who have a terrible defense again. Patriots, who have a bad defense. Then they have the Packers, who hopefully can cause some problems, although the pass rush isn't great, and that's the one thing you kind of need. The Vikings, hopefully, will make them look like a jag off. The Lions, 49ers, Vikings, Lions. Yeah, okay, so it gets better. My goodness, though, man, I don't know how much easier it could get on a quarterback. Before that was the Colts. So I do expect the Bears to win that game. Unfortunately, we will see how it goes. But the couple things that they've got going for them is the run game, which is not usually a good thing, and I'm shocked to have to admit that the Bears' strategy is to pass, which is crazy. But again, the Bears have the second best pass defense. The Jaguars' passing offense is 24th. The Bears' passing offense is bad, but the Jaguars' offense is worse. And then when you look at rushing, the Bears' rushing offense is 24th. Jaguars' defense is 16th, so running is in the Jaguars' favor. And then the Jaguars have the 4th best rushing offense. The Bears' defense is 18th. So all I can think is, man, the Jaguars have to try to establish the run a little bit, but try to establish the run and then see where you can go from there. I don't really know. Jaguars ranked 29th in pressure rate, so they're not going to get to Caleb. They can't cover. They frickin' suck. I guess the one good thing is Trayvon Walker is starting to generate pressure, so maybe, I don't know. Can you stop it? You're driving me freaking nuts. But there we go. That's a big game. I guess the other The other good thing is Chicago is technically at home, but this game is in London, and the Jacksonville Jaguars have a lot of experience playing there. It's like they're home away from home, I guess. So maybe, I don't freaking know, man. Crazy stuff happens on these long journeys, so we'll just see how she goes. But the Bears are currently 1-point favorites, and unfortunately, if I were to give you some betting advice, I would tell you to bet on Chicago. I'm not actually doing that, because that would be too sad, but but yeah, there you go. Washington and Baltimore, I never would have thought would have mattered, but at this point in time, it absolutely does matter. Washington is establishing itself as a bit of an NFC, I don't know if I want to say powerhouse, that might be overstating it, but certainly a formidable NFC team. Good news is they're playing Baltimore. Baltimore are 6.5-point favorites. Looking at the models we've got over here, depends where you're looking. The DVOA model disagrees and actually says the Commanders are going to win the game. The ELO model, Baltimore by a billion. Not literally, it's 9.26 points, but either way, rooting for Baltimore in that game. It's kind of a far distant, like probably isn't going to matter for us, but it might. So, just trying to keep pace with not just the NFC North, but the NFC. You're looking for, especially anytime there's any NFC against an AFC team, kind of rooting for the AFC there. Texans, Patriots, I don't care. Titans, Colts, I don't care. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, New Orleans Saints. This is one of those things where either team losing is a good thing. I suppose unless you genuinely just believe that the Saints at the end of the day will be the better team, it would make sense to root for Tampa Bay. Again, either way kind of works. If Tampa Bay falls to 2-4, that's not a bad thing. If they balance each other out and they're both 3-3, I'm also okay with that situation. So either way, it's kind of a good thing. Cleveland Browns, Philadelphia Eagles, that just sucks. You'd hope that Philadelphia would go up against a tough opponent. Doesn't appear to be the case. There is still a possibility here. Cleveland is a complete and utter disaster. One of the worst teams in all of football right now. Just hoping that Cleveland's defense can wake up a little bit against Philly, and then the offense can find some success against that Philly defense, which again is not doing very good. But as of right now, the Philadelphia Eagles are 8.5-point favorites. So obviously it doesn't seem super likely to anybody that that this is going to work. However, again, if you like the DVOA model, which has done us a lot of good in the past, ELO says bet on Philly. Like it's not even, you don't believe in Philadelphia enough. DVOA says bet Cleveland. And again, it's DVOA that I told you about how bad Philly's defense was. That was based on the DVOA. So I don't know, man. Fingers crossed on that. We'll see. It is in Philadelphia, which isn't great, but it is what it is. Detroit and Dallas, I've been enjoying the downfall of the Dallas Cowboys, which is maybe overstating it. They are 3-2, which isn't terrible. But as much as I like laughing at Dallas for not really living up to all the hype, they're facing Detroit, and I desperately want Dallas to win. If Dallas wins, they go to 4-2, so they're in a decent position. But if they win, Detroit goes to 3-2 as opposed to 4-1. So again, trying to keep pace, especially with the NFC North. If we can win the game against Arizona, we go to 4-2. Detroit is at 4-2. We're in a pretty solid position. Now, that also assumes Chicago is at 4-2. So we got a bit of a three-way tie there, but it is what it is. Minnesota, unfortunately, has their bye, so they cannot lose pace. All they're doing is hoping for any loss in the NFC North, which is a bit unfortunate. But, again, it's why we absolutely have to beat Arizona. This is one of the easier teams on our schedule. All the easier teams are in the beginning. It just gets harder from here. We got all our divisional games coming up, which are tough. We've played one of them. We've got 5 of them coming up. Texans, 49ers. Like, it's all downhill from here. This is when we need to clean up and get our wins. Atlanta Falcons, Carolina Panthers. Obviously rooting for the Carolina Panthers here. Probably not a huge deal, but again, Carolina really not a threat. Atlanta potentially a threat. Potentially one of those trying to get that spot in the playoffs, whatever. They're at 3-2 also. That would put them at 3-3. Help us to just kind of outpace some of these teams. Giants, Bengals. I mean, I guess you root for the Bengals, but do we really think the Giants are going to be a team to worry about? I don't think so. And then on Monday, we got Buffalo and the Jets. You know what? I think the Jets are going to win that game. That's probably stupid, and the Bills are going to destroy them. And if it wasn't for this one little thing in the back of my head, I wouldn't be saying this, because I usually overvalue the Bills as it is. I just think people have been overextending a little bit on this Jets thing. I mean, it's hilarious. It's a complete debacle. Don't get me wrong. That's why I've been talking about it a lot, because it's hilarious. The thing that I think that maybe we're overstepping on is the part where it's like Aaron Rodgers is washed and this team is garbage and nothing. I mean, again, 2 weeks ago, we were talking about this team was going to win a Super Bowl. Like it was the best we've seen from Rodgers. This was finally it's happening. And then there were a couple bad games, and it's just suddenly this is all over. I mean, it's still a good defense with some really talented pieces on offense that could absolutely dial up some stuff. So it's not because I think the Jets are better than the Bills, because I don't, but it is because I think, karma, for example, is just going to just going to pull things back in a different direction for a little while. It's been overextended a little bit, and then again, beating a team like Buffalo just makes sense to me. It's I'm not putting any money on that prediction. It's just a gut feeling thing where it's like, just have a feeling, because then what's going to happen the whole media cycle after that is the people who haven't been trashing the Jets, who haven't really been at least super vocal about it, are going to come out the other direction. Like, you all said, and and look at everything's changed. They got a new coach. Everything's fixed now. You were wrong. And oh my Lord, whatever. I'm here for it, man. It's drama central. I love it. I'm all about it. But I mean, as far as the NFC is concerned, it's just kind of a tight race across the board. So, yeah, we'll hope for a couple of victories in here with some of these NFC teams falling. And if the Packers beat the Cardinals, then we just keep on a trucking. But obviously the biggest ones are going to be the Chicago and Detroit game. Surprisingly, Chicago is the most comfortable one here, I would say. But I think Dallas has a pretty good shot at beating Detroit as well. In fact, let's see, ELO actually has Dallas in the lead. DVOA has Detroit, but very, very, very barely, like less than a point. If you look at the DVOA, it's 0.39. So should be some good games. What time is that one at? That is an after. So perfect. We got Chicago in the morning. We got Packers at noon. And then we've got Detroit in the afternoon. That'll be great. All good stuff. Again, make sure to subscribe over at the Substack. We may start it kind of early. Did that last week. I don't think anyone tuned in until the Packer game, really. But I'll try to remember to get it started for the Bears game. I'll just have it up and running. I can't promise I'll be in there monitoring it 24/7, but we'll have the chat up. Hopefully get a bunch of people in there so it's not one guy just like, hey, what's going on? But then we'll do the Packer game, and I'll probably leave it up through Detroit as well, and then shut her down after that. So that will be the plan. Packernet.substack.com. You can grab a free subscription, get in on the chatting and the fun having and whatnot. I'll try to get that link shared around for those that can't find it and whatnot. Let's take a break. It turns out we've only got 3 calls, which is not much, but I do want to get this all cleaned up as best as I can, so we're going to do it. And then we're going to get out of here. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Yo, Ryan, it's your Uncle Kurt Bankert. Just kidding. I'm not. No, you don't hate me.
No.
You love me. You're
not
Kurt Bankert. It's just funny because I called in and apparently Kurt Bankert had possibly the same assessment I had of the pick 6 play. And I'm not saying that.
To be fair, I was annoyed from the start because like the headline of his video was like, why Jordan Love made a brilliant play. And it's like, I'm going to frickin' choke you, bro. Like, I can't handle this crap.
Exactly what was going through Jordan Love's mind. But maybe, I don't know if anybody asked him. Did anybody say anything in the pressers? Like, were you throwing that ball away, or were you throwing it to Tucker Kraft?
Well, unfortunately, it got all robot-y on me, so the rest of your call, I'm just going to, because I've already answered your call and then played Nico's call and then answered that call, and then I just found out it got all freaking robot-y again and I have to redo everything. I don't know why it's doing that. I don't know what would cause something like that, other than this thing is a piece of crap and just keeps causing problems. I don't know if it's the microphone, because it gets a little jaggy in there, or if it's my little thing here. I would blame it on my phone causing interference, but I can't even find that freaking thing. I don't know where my phone is. My wife's probably ticked at me right now because I am not answering her text messages, and she does not like that. But I never look at my phone. And it's always on vibrate, because otherwise it just goes off every second when I'm trying to do the podcast. So, anyways, I could have just left it like last time, but it was really long, and I'm sure nobody wants to hear that after multiple days of having those issues. All right. Oh, what the heck did I say about this call? I don't even remember, because I think I answered a couple times. So, bottom line here with Kurt Benkert, and I'll try not to ramble too much because I may have said this already. The biggest issue I had with what he said had little to do. I mean, Tucker Kraft maybe should have run the route, whatever. I don't know. Kurt Benkert said it was like a beautiful play. It was like the greatest play he'd ever seen in his life. It's like, okay, dude, freaking whatever. I can't deal with that anymore. However, let's just skip to the end. I know I had more to say, but let's skip to the end. I did look it up, and apparently Jordan did say he tried to throw it away. All right, we'll just end that saga right now. To be fair, I'll give you the opportunity to prove me wrong, because I did use the robot. By the way, Perplexity AI, it's all I use anymore. Like there's robots for like robot-y stuff, asking questions, having little debates, or having it summarize articles for me, or help me create notes for the podcast, all the good stuff. As far as just search engines, all I use is Perplexity. If you haven't used it, just do it. Google is stupid. Every time I forget and I start typing into Google and I try to find it, I'm like, why did I do that? It's a waste of my freaking time. Just use it, because it searches the internet and then it reads the articles and then it gives you the answer. It's much better. I used that, and it said that Jordan did say he was trying to throw it away. And so then that mystery is solved. I'm really sorry, Uncle Rico. I wish I could remember what the heck I said and could engage and could allow the rest of your call to be played. But, robot-y and whatnot. I know you made the comment about we paid him $60 zillion to know where he is on the field. And my thought on that essentially was, do you think we would trust him to run this offense with his eyes closed? Because that's kind of what we're talking about here. Like, you should know where they are, so you should be able to do it. I don't super trust him to do it with his eyes open. I mean, I do, but I'm nervous about it. So I would just say no to that. All right, Nico, let's try this again. No robots this time, hopefully.
It's Nico here.
Hey, Nico.
So, listening to today's podcast about where you're going a little more in depth about the Rome thing, all I can say to that is, I remember even like as of last year, I wasn't really worried, because I know this stuff sometimes works themselves out, but some people were saying like, well, how are we going to afford to pay all these receivers? Well, I guess we figured out. And
this is a thing that I've said before in the past that sounds like a lame cop-out kind of answer, but a lot of times people panic and how are we going to do this and that and that? And it's similar to the draft and develop philosophy of drafting best player available. And then when people ask the complicated question of, well, we have a need here and we don't have a need there, so why would you do that? The answer, and this comes from Ted Thompson. Maybe I should try to find the quote or something. I don't know. But my translation of the answer to that question is these things have a way of working themselves out. Injuries occur, crazy stuff happens, you never really know what's going to happen. To look at the year we draft Romeo and Watson and see them play well and say, well, how are we going to afford to pay them? We're never going to be able to put, how are we going to, I don't know, dude. I don't know. How much do we have to pay them? Do we have to pay them? Are they going to make it that long? Are they going to get, is somebody going to have some kind of an attitude issue? Is he going to demand to be kicked off the team, like demand a trade? There's so many variables. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. So you know what? We don't need to panic. We don't need to fold the franchise. We don't need to burn Lambeau Field to the ground, because it appears that, 3-4 years out, we're not going to be able to pay both receivers. And so we should super panic about it and say crazy stuff.
We're going to get rid of one of them. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny, but I'm kind of like I said yesterday. Once you have an attitude like this, I'm sorry. Just like you mentioned today with Diggs, he's a great receiver. He's a number one, and people are like, "Nah, we're good. You go, bye-bye."
Twice.
It's such a bummer. And I had this whole thing I was going to say, and I totally forgot about it. But, on one end, you got Christian Watson jumping in front of trains for Jordan Love and the Packers.
Right.
Throwing the blocks. I mean, I think he's a better blocker than Alan Lazard. And you think Randy
really
Moss was blocking cornerbacks and linebackers down the field? Heck no.
Oh,
Randy Moss
alligator
was like,
arms.
I'm going to do a fly right every time, just throw me touchdowns. I mean, Watson is, even though he got hurt again, he's really an amazing for the team guy. Then you got Dobbs over here like, oh, I'm not getting enough catches, so I can't make money. Like, what? I mean, it's just, what do you do, bro? Like I said, we know who we're not going to sign. I wish they would just trade him now. I mean, Watson even mentioned mental health and mentioned, whoever he plays in the future. That's great. I mean, and then, coach mentioned something about, well, there's a process to do, and they should go to position coach, which I don't know if he did. It sounds like he didn't. He just went through a temper tantrum. It's like, dude. And say it's CTE or what, I don't know. All I know is shit. Sorry, I'm blocking traffic here.
Just letting that go.
All I know is it's a bummer, but those attitudes tend to not mean a long, healthy career. They mean it's like, oh, it's all about me. It's all about me. It's funny. But on the other hand, we've all done this with our jobs. I've done it.
Oh, yeah.
I think I should be making this amount of money, and I'm making this amount of money. Yeah. I hate my freaking boss. I want to be paid $50 an hour. He's only paying me $30 an hour. Yeah. But, of course, when I do it, it's because I want to make another $5 or $10 an hour when football guys do it because they want to make another $30 million. So I know it's a little different on that end, but still, it's like they should just be blessed and just be happy that they are where they're at, because a lot of things could have happened and not make him be where he's at. Anyways, I say ditch him, get rid of him. Let's have a good attitude on this entire team. Go Pack Joe.
Well, I wouldn't take it too far in the other direction either. Let's just go Brian Gutekunst on this. You know what I mean? That is to just let it go. If he's got an attitude, it's, well, too bad. You signed a contract. You will play for us, and that's how it's going to go. And then when the time comes, we'll see how it goes. Maybe this is a big, again, we had a similar situation with Jaire. I don't think it was this bad. I think there was just really no oversight, and I think the defense was really getting rebellious and not super happy with the situation. And this was sort of the come to Jesus moment where the team was like, all right, this is too far. Like this is just direct insubordination, going against the coach, etc. That cannot be allowed. And so what did they do? They had a sit down. Brian Gutekunst, Jaire sat down, and they said things are great. And part of that conversation did involve changes, right? Joe, I'm not saying they did it because of Jaire, but he was probably made aware that, look, I know you're pissed and you're right, and some of this stuff's going to change. And we're going to take care of it. But first of all, you got to cool it for the rest of the year, or there will be consequences. And I don't remember what the second third of all is, but, this doesn't reflect well on you. And, if you want to have a long-standing career either here in Green Bay or anywhere in the NFL, this is not the kind of attitude that's going to get you there. So, paid you a lot of money to be a leader on this team. This is not acceptable behavior from you, essentially. So, and again, it got worked out. So I don't know exactly what happened. I still don't. We have a general idea, but there's like this weird undertext that has not fully been explained and probably will not be. But what I would like to do is just let this thing ride out. There's tons of stuff out there about, he's still not happy. I think people interpreted that interview differently. Some people are like, oh, it's great to hear, and everything seems fine. And then, there was kind of my look at it, which was, he's certainly humble and everything else about the interview, but it was sort of a, I'm just here so I don't get fined vibe. So, but again, I don't need to overreact to any one thing because this thing will play itself out. If he really does harbor a lot of resentment and is really angry, he's not going to be able to just not let that out again at some point. So we will see how these things go. In the meantime, though, he's a Packer, and he's going to play as a Packer. And, worst case scenario for him, he decides to keep having an attitude and whatever, and he just loses snap counts, which means he's really, really going to hurt himself as far as getting a contract with another team, because that's where he's obviously going to be headed. But, my preference would be to take the Gutekunst approach, which is to say, no, I'm not going to give in to your temper tantrum. This is what he did with Rodgers. I would say, when we heard that rumor about Rodgers wanting to be traded on draft day, I said, trade him. Trade him. I'm terrified. We're not going to get any compensation. Now we can get a bunch of first-round picks. Please trade him. Please, I'm scared to death. Then Gutekunst's like, nah. No, he's not going to tell me what to do. He's not the freaking boss. He doesn't tell me who to trade. You have signed a contract, and you will play. And he played hardball, and they played chicken, and it was ultimately Rodgers that jumped off the tracks first. So I think we'll see something similar. And again, I hope it doesn't materialize into anything worse than what it has been. But if it does, I think that's what it comes down to. There is a chance, I'm sure they're going to be working the phones a little bit to see what's out there, similar to Rasul Douglas. I mean, if a deal comes along and there's a team, like the Chiefs or something that's like, hey, we have no wide receivers. We'd love to have them. We'll give you some solid value for them. I don't think that Gutekunst can turn that down. But I also don't necessarily think that that'll happen. But who knows? Again, so many variables. Take it a week at a time. We'll see how she goes. Final call from Nico.
Now, with what I just said about Dobbs, this is one thing I was going to say. Now that he's back, I say feed him the ball as much as possible, make him look as good as possible, and then get the best trade you can for him. I'm out. Peace.
I mean, if it is about his contract, then he should be as motivated. I mean, if he's that upset about wanting a superstar contract, then I have nothing but expectations that he is going to work as hard as he possibly can. Because like you said about the work thing, the people who are most disgruntled generally are the ones that are actually working really hard. And they're really upset because they're not getting as much recognition as they feel like they should. They're not getting as many raises as they feel like they should. They're also collecting about the same pay as that guy over there who's not working, and that super pisses them off. And they're doing some of the work that guy's doing because he's like, nah, I don't feel like it. And of course, you're going to pick up the slack, and you get, again, no recognition and no pay, right? So I mean, right. So the bottom line is he's this upset because he wants it that bad, right? Great. So give him the opportunity to earn it. And I think that's all he's really asking for. He wants the opportunity to earn it. Great. That's fine. I mean, I'm not going to take the ball away from Reed or Wicks if they're open or whatever. Maybe from Wicks if he can't stop dropping the freaking ball. But, yeah, throw it up to him. And you know what? If you can't do it, if I throw you a 50-50 ball and it gets picked, or I throw you a 50-50 ball and you can't catch it, or you drop some passes or whatever the case may be, or there's just better options, then, I mean, I tried, dude. And I understand you're working hard, and I understand you want it bad. But I tried as hard as I could to force you the ball to get you to demonstrate that you deserve more snaps, more opportunities, more recognition, and more money, and you couldn't do it. But yeah, in the meantime, if that's what you want, then like I said with all these other guys that get checks, if you want the money, then you got to earn it. With a bigger paycheck comes bigger expectations. So I'll pay him. I'll pay him if he can be that guy. I've never seen it from him. He's good. He's not like superstar wide receiver, but he's solid. But yeah, I'm all for it. I mean, I'm coming at it from a different perspective than you of you've already got him traded in your head. But either way, yeah, give him the ball. Give it to him. And if he's gonna, have an attitude, run lazy routes and not catch passes or whatever, because he's got a problem, then I guess we're done here, and you don't get the ball and you don't get as many snaps and you don't get opportunities. But in the meantime, now is the absolute worst time to have an attitude. Now is the best time to step up and demonstrate you all messed up and made a mistake because I'm the best one here. That's what you have to prove this week. So best of luck to you, Romeo Dobbs. Hope that you're able to do that. All right, that's it for us. It's officially game day. There will be obviously no Packernet After Dark because we got caught up on the calls. So have a good rest of your day. I'll talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.